Mr. Vengsarkar, you work a lot with young people. You have excellent coaching camps for the young. What do you tell those young people who might tomorrow think, I want to play for Mumbai Indians before I play for India? My first goal is how do I get into the Mumbai Indians team? Then we'll see about India.
Yes, that is, of course, the mindset of not the players but the parents, I would say. Because the parents feel that if he plays IPL, he can earn crores of rupees, like, you know. There was one guy who had come with his son. He used to call me every time that, sir, aap mere ladke ko dekho. I think he's very talented. So I asked him to come to the academy. And I told the father to go and sit in the tent, as you don't come on the ground. So he came and asked the boy, "Kya aap kya karte ho?" I'm a good spinner, sir.
I'm a good spinner.
Spinner. And he bowled good leg spin. And his dad was watching from the tent. So I called his dad and I said that he's got talent and he's a good leg spinner. He said, "Sir, usko batsman banao." I said, "Kyun? Life mein maar khate rahega." So that's the mindset of parents, like, you know, these days. That make him batsman, other he'll be clobbered every day if he plays IPL.
So whatever. He's got a better chance to play IPL if he's a batsman than if he's a leg spinner.
Yeah.
You know, so that is a complete change in the entire mindset of the young.
And even players, I would say, because if you see, you know, interstate under 19 or under 23 matches, you know, they play well. But once they see the talent spotters of IPL around, they start playing reverse sweep, they started playing over the top, and they get out. And that's why Mumbai is not doing too well, to be honest with you, these days. Everybody wants to play in IPL, you know, and they want to bag a contract.
You know, but, you know, IPL is unfortunately sometimes also targeted. Look at how it's changed people's lives. Yeah. You know, there's this wonderful story of this Tamil Nadu boy, T. Natarajan, who eventually played for India as well. I mean, his parents had a small chicken shop in a small village in Salem district. They've got a nice little house now. And, you know, Natarajan is a hero across that part of Tamil Nadu. A lot of lives have been transformed. One of these young boys who for Madhya Pradesh played this year used to work as a night wage laborer in a factory in Ghaziabad and then played this year for Mumbai Indians as well. So, I mean, you've got a situation where IPL is transforming the lives of a number of people in an unimaginable manner. It's a sign of social mobility.
I think it's such an important sign of social mobility and of achieving livelihood through sports, which has always been the bane of India. We used to always crib, and you would know this, that country of 130 crore, ek champion nahi hai, ek medal nahi hai, वगैरह. In this Commonwealth Games, where we got about, you know, 60 medals, such great stories of people who come from very humble backgrounds, some from very underprivileged backgrounds, but they've made their way to the top because they've got talent. And rewarding talent is, I think, fundamental to the growth of the country in various areas.
Do you think, therefore, Ayaz, that one of the biggest changes in, you know, when we look at brands is that we've moved out of the metropolises to the small towns? Absolutely. Mahendra Singh Dhoni, according to me, is the most transformative cricketer of the of the 21st century. Every kid wants to follow that Dhoni story. I mean, one day you're a ticket collector, and 10 years later you're lifting the World Cup in front of, you know, a billion people. I mean, is his story really the India story of cricket? India story, not just cricket story, the India brand story in a way of the 21st century.
Of course it is. It is so evident. I mean, it's so remarkable because you can be, you know, you can come from a most humble background and make it to the top. And even if you have very illustrious parents or background, from a privileged background, you might not get past the first hurdle unless you have the talent or the skill or the gumption, determination to go through. I think that's really the story of how India is emerging through sport. I think I'm bullish about India as a sporting nation. We have to get over a few humps, but I think we are making rapid strides. You know,
I want to share a story of Dhoni, which I think is the classic Indian story, which I have in my book, Democracy is 11, where he gave me a rare interview. And I asked him, you know, you're in the last over of a match, 15 runs to get, and 9 times out of 10 you managed to do it. Don't you feel the pressure? And he said something that has stayed with me forever. He said, Rajdeep bhai, you know what is pressure? जब मैं वो टिकट कलेक्टर था खड़गपुर स्टेशन में और मेरे सुपरवाइजर ने मुझे कहा कि देखो माई जो भी हो किसी को बगैर टिकट ट्रेन में मत आने देना. एंड ही सेड जब वो ट्रेन कलकत्ता से आती थी और इतने बंगाली बैठ जाते थे ट्रेन में, तो मेरी सबसे बड़ी प्रेशर होती थी कि टू मेक श्योर दैट नो वन वाज एंटरिंग द ट्रेन विदाउट अ टिकट. वो असली प्रेशर है. उसके बाद ये फास्ट बॉलर खेलना बहुत आसान है. सो यू नो the ability to stay in the moment and live life. And I've just wondered whether in a way, David Gower, that's true now universally. Even in England, there is a fearlessness to this generation in a way that perhaps comes with less of the baggage of the past. They seem to play cricket, almost as if they are born to play the game with a sense of fearlessness, not tied into any past.
I think you've got to be aware of so many different things. Now, what we see, and this is one of the reasons I admire, for instance, there have been a series of documentaries across the world in the last 4 or 5 years. The Edge in England about the pressures of playing Test cricket, looking into the minds of people, the minds you don't see on the TV when they're playing. The thing I've not yet seen about Ben Stokes. And here's a man who this year looks unbeatable, unbreakable, looks invincible, looks brilliant. 2 years ago, he's having an 18-month break through mental stress, admittedly with some ridiculously tough circumstances behind it. His father's illness and death, injury, you name it. There's a lot of things suddenly in Ben Stokes' mind then which were not making life easy whatsoever. So I think, yes, it is brilliant to watch this form of the game and at all levels. I mean, Test cricket, as we've seen in England this year, is being played at times like a one-day game. And it's thrilling to watch when it works. It's thrilling to watch when it fails. Yeah, we've seen both now. So that's a very good thing. And that's one of the things, actually, that is incumbent upon the players, is to make Test cricket very watchable so that more people say, yes, actually, we quite like that, as well as T20 and 50 overs. But I think we have to be aware of those pressures. And there's been so much more awareness over the last 10, 20 years of people succumbing to the pressure of having to do it today, tomorrow, the week after, for the next 10 years. Keeping the standards high is not always as easy as it looks. And you see that in cricket. It's documented in cricket. You see it with some of the world's best tennis players, some of whom have had to step back. Osaka, for one, she's had to step back because of those pressures. So I think it's fantastic to watch people at their best. And television, whether it be cricket, rugby, soccer, tennis, golf, brings you the best time and time again. But I think it's fabulous and very interesting to be aware of what goes on in people's minds behind the scenes to actually make it look as easy as it does look on TV.
You know, we keep speaking of this word pressure. As Mr. Vengsarkar said, I'm sure there was pressure when you were playing Pakistan, as there is pressure today. How do you deal with, do you believe dealing with pressure in your time is different from now? Again, because of the commercial pressures, your sponsors, your social media pressure. Do you think it was easier in your time? You didn't have to deal with any of this. You could just go out and play the game. You didn't have to worry about all this surround sound. Mera sponsor kya kahega? What will the owner of my team tell me if I fail? You didn't have any of that worry.
Yeah, that is true that we didn't have as much pressure as they have now. But having said that, our income is only from our jobs. Because I think every cricketer was employed by some bank or by some company or whatever. So that is very important. Our pressures to start, in playing time shield matches, and because time shield matches were very important for us as
Inter-office.
well. Inter-office tournament in Mumbai. So we had to do extremely well in those games. That is also, and that were really pressured games. But of course, I think Test match cricket is Test match cricket. You can't take away pressure from Test match cricket.
Is your worry though that Test match cricket will now lose out? Now in England you've got the 100, you've got T20 in India, there's talk of T10 cricket. Are you worried that people don't come, crowds don't come anymore for Test matches? People will not go, the younger generation will pack the stands for IPL but will not come for a Test match. Does that worry you that 10 years from now there will be no Test cricket or very little Test cricket?
Yes, it does, to be honest with you, because I think Test cricket is alive, cricket will be alive, to be honest with you. Because that is the skill and the mental toughness of a player. And you are known for the performance in Test match cricket, not in T20. And I can safely say now that that the Test cricket is alive because of England and Australia. Because if you see Ashes series or India-England matches announced, I think tickets are sold for all 5 Test matches straight away. And that happens in Australia as well. But actually, I'm concerned about Test match cricket in other countries, including India.
Should India, and one way to revive it, India and Pakistan go and play in Sharjah and Dubai. I mean, what is England versus Australia compared to India versus Pakistan? I mean, there's no comparison, David, honestly.
Can I draw you to the definition of the word comparison? There is a comparison. It might not be a favorable one in your eyes, but there is definitely a comparison. And yes, I mean, I've watched never a test match between Pakistan and India live, but I've watched games in the UK during World Cups, during Champions Trophy, and the absolute bedlam that surrounds Old Trafford, for instance, when Pakistan and India meet at that ground. The ground might hold 18,000. There will be 18,000 outside the ground pretending they're in the ground. And you see the passion, absolutely. Absolutely, and I don't deny, let's face it, the politics between these two countries, great countries in very different ways, is such that it becomes an issue, will always be an issue, until someone agrees that actually you can play cricket together without starting a war. Now, England and Australia nearly brought the countries to war in 1932. Bodyline nearly severed relations between what we, if you want to call it the mother country, it sounds a bit pejorative, but between England and Australia, diplomatic relations were strained beyond belief. There is immense passion in those, and one of the things I will always treasure is holding what looks like the Ashes aloft at 1985 in the Oval, having captained an England side to victory in the Ashes. And I would say, numerically, there might be more minds involved in a Pakistan-India contest, but emotionally, it's actually very, very similar.
Okay, y'all are smaller countries than the subcontinent.
You see, no, you mustn't get drawn into mere numbers.
We can fill England and Australia into one of our into the Eden Gardens. All your England and Australian fans, we can fill all of them into the Eden Gardens. But, do you think the other way, Ayaz, is to have more day-night cricket? Young Indians want to, don't want to go for a test match at 10 in the morning. Maybe you just have pink ball cricket, start at 4 in the afternoon. You've got to change the way. We don't even serve alcohol at our grounds. Now, many people believe you should serve alcohol. Every time I look at the matches going on in England, I see people having alcohol all the time, and I wonder, when will we have that in this country? Why shouldn't we? I mean, should we be changing the way the game is celebrated and played?
Can I just say, can I say, I think the opposite. Every time I see alcohol in the stands at Old Trafford and a beer snake a mile long disappearing to the top of the stand, I'm thinking, when can we ban alcohol in these games? But it is,
I think the game has to be sold. Test cricket has to be sold more aggressively, more imaginatively, more creatively. I think actually I'm quite bullish about even Test cricket surviving, provided you get, and the advantage is you have so many Indians all over the world, and they're all crazy about cricket. You'll get Indians from the US going to the West Indies to watch matches. There's a high level of spend on cricket which is happening. How do you mark? I'm not worried. In today's day and age, maybe 20,000 people are not at the ground, but they are following the match on TV, on their cell phones, digitally, and the interest is there. Now, how do you get them to make it more vibrant? You need strong personalities like Virat Kohli promoting Test cricket. He's been so aggressive about it, which is an absolute joy. And then you promote it more. Why can't you just open the gates, the turnstiles, for school kids at every venue post-tea? Let them come and enjoy 2 hours of the match. From school, come straight to the ground, don't pay any money, watch the game, go home.
Because, in conclusion, when I look at the United States, which is really the last frontier for cricket to conquer, you look at the way the NBA is played. They've made it a carnival. And that's the success of the IPL, in a way, which is now being replicated across the world. Are we all being traditionalists when we say, we want Test cricket, people in white flannels? The world has changed, right? Younger India or younger audiences across the world want a different sport. There's a new sport called cricketainment. Cricket is over. The sport is now called cricketainment, David Gower. Let's go with with the flow.
David Gawa and Dilip Vengsarkar in shorts. Playing a test match.
I mean, you heard my plea at the end of my little speech. I think the aim that the people like us, people like me, Dilip maybe, should aspire to is balance. Because yes, you can have cricket-tainment all year long if you want it. I might argue there is that argument sometimes that less is more. If you leave, I mean, there are adages, leave the audience wanting more. If you sate that appetite, I mean, for instance, I come to Delhi for these last couple of days. We have breakfast, we have lunch, we have dinner. Dilip keeps offering me dessert, day after day, and I'm getting bigger and bigger by the day. Am I more satisfied by having extra dessert? It's delicious. I have to say it's delicious. He's a very good judge of a dessert. But I'm getting tired of it, as it were. So you need to keep the interest vibrant. And in my book, I would try and find a way to have both.
So is that a fear that too much of cricket could end up,
Well,
too much of franchise cricket would end up putting audiences off? Or are you just discovering new markets? One day Dubai, one day the US, the West Indies, just discover more, Florida.
It's a fascinating and dangerous discussion. Obviously, people will take sides. But if you have the same people owning a side in Delhi, owning a side in South Africa, owning a team in the Caribbean, owning another one in the UAE for 20 overs, owning another one in the UAE for 10 overs. One of our big problems just in England alone is not enough time and space to fit in everything. And you end up with people not watching because they just want a day off. I think balance is key. And I think there is still, you've proved here already, you can make an awful lot of money with what you have already. Now, I don't deny that the world's instinct is to find something that works and make it work more, make it work better, make it more lucrative. And that's a very natural instinct. But I think at some stage, it's a very dangerous thing to have to say in this venue, but at some stage we have to work out how this is going to work globally, how this is going to affect nations, not just franchises. And I think we have to work very hard to protect what we have, yet allow the entertainment that we get from new forms of the game.